AITA for getting revenge after my girlfriend slept with her coworker because I lost my job? My name is Logan, I'm 28, and I was with my girlfriend, Taryn, who is 27. Before I get into the cheating and all that, I want you to know I'm just an average guy. I was 23 when I met Taryn. She was 22. It wasn't some romantic movie scene. It was at a backyard barbecue. My friend Chase invited me to his cousin's place for a summer get-together. I wasn't really planning on going. I was broke that week, tired from work, and I'm not the type who enjoys meeting strangers. But Chase convinced me by saying there would be free food and that I needed to stop being such a hermit. So I went. It turned out to be the best and worst decision of my life. I remember getting to the backyard and seeing groups of people everywhere, some by the grill, some playing cornhole, others near the porch with beers in hand. That's when I first saw Taryn. She was sitting with two friends on the porch steps, laughing at something on her phone. Her laugh stood out. It wasn't fake or forced. It was loud, genuine, the kind that makes you smile without knowing why. I caught myself looking at her more than once. Chase's cousin's girlfriend introduced us later when everyone gathered around the grill. "This is Taryn. She works with me," she said. Taryn looked up and smiled. And I instantly felt awkward. I'm not great with first impressions. I made a dumb joke about people in HR being the most hated because they're the ones who have to fire everyone. And instead of getting offended, she just burst out laughing. That broke the ice. We spent almost the whole night talking. Simple stuff at first, what we did for work, where we were from. She told me she had just started her first office job in human resources and was still getting the hang of it. I told her I worked in IT. When she heard that, her eyes lit up and she said, "Oh, so you're the guy who actually knows how to fix things. I'm the one who calls people like you when my computer won't turn on." That became a sort of running joke between us. A fun back and forth. At some point in the conversation, I found out she was also into video games, which surprised me. I didn't know many girls who played. She told me she grew up playing with her older brother, mostly Nintendo stuff. Then, as an adult, she bought herself a PlayStation. She mentioned loving RPGs and games with deep stories. I remember thinking, okay, that's really cool. That was one of our first common interests. We started talking about our favorite games, sharing stories about all-nighters, and everything just felt natural. At the end of the barbecue, I wanted to ask for her number, but didn't know how to do it without seeming clumsy. Luckily, she made it easy for me. She literally said, "You seem cool, we should hang out sometime." And she took my phone, typed in her number, and handed it back. I left that get-together smiling like an idiot. Our first date was nothing fancy, just coffee on a Sunday afternoon. I was more nervous than I'd ever been, so I talked way too much about dumb stuff. Video games, random work stories. I even complained about the traffic. I thought I had bored her to death, but that same night, she sent me a text saying she'd had a good time and asked when we could see each other again. That was the beginning. Things moved fast. We started seeing each other every few days. Dinners, movies, long walks. Sometimes we'd just stay in, order pizza, and play games together. One night, I brought my old console over, and we stayed up until 3 in the morning playing Mario Kart. She absolutely destroyed me and wouldn't let me forget it. That was Taryn, competitive, fun, and always giving me a hard time. A month into dating, we had what I consider our first real moment of connection. We went for a late-night drive because neither of us wanted the day to end. I drove aimlessly until we ended up at an empty park. We sat on the hood of the car and talked about everything we wanted in life, where we saw ourselves in 5 years. Dumb childhood dreams. It wasn't a sappy talk, but it was meaningful. That night, I thought, this girl could be the one. Of course, we weren't perfect. 6 months in, we had our first fight. She thought I was texting another girl too much, when it was actually a coworker asking about a project. She got jealous, I got defensive, and we didn't speak for a day. But then she showed up at my apartment with a bag of takeout. She said she hated fighting with me, and we worked it out. I think that moment made us stronger. We learned we could get angry, argue, but still want to fix things. From there, we kept building memories. We went on road trips, nothing extravagant. One time we drove to the mountains and got lost because I'm terrible with directions. We ended up at some sketchy motel with a flickering sign, and she never let me live it down. Another time we went to the beach, spent the whole day, got sunburned like idiots, and couldn't stop laughing about it afterward. Meeting the families was a big step too. Her parents were nice, though her dad had that typical "don't hurt my daughter" vibe. Her mom loved me from the start. She said I was polite and different from the other guys Taryn had dated. That stuck with me. My mom loved her instantly too. She always used to tell me, "Logan, don't mess this up. She's a keeper." And at the time, I believed it. When we hit our 2-year anniversary, moving in together felt like the natural next step. We found a 2-bedroom apartment, one of which we turned into a game room and office. Taryn decorated it with little plants and pictures. She gave it that homey touch. I wasn't picky about that stuff, but I liked that she cared. She signed the lease because my credit was a mess, and we didn't think much of it. Life settled into a routine. She worked in HR, I worked in IT. We'd text during the day, come home, cook dinner, play games, or watch shows on Netflix. Weekends were for friends, running errands, or just being together. It felt stable, comfortable. Honestly, I thought we were building something long-term. We weren't officially married yet, but I could see it coming. Looking back, those years feel like another lifetime. If you had asked me then, I would have told you Taryn was my partner, my best friend, my future wife. Without a doubt. And that's what made everything that came next so hard to accept. So yeah, life was pretty stable for a while. We had our routines, our apartment, our little habits, like gaming after work or watching shows curled up on the couch. It wasn't perfect, but it was good. I figured we were in that stage where you move past the honeymoon phase and into something more mature. I thought this was what real relationships were like, but about 1.5 years after we moved in together, everything changed. It started when I lost my job. I worked in tech support, as I mentioned. It wasn't glamorous, but I was good at it. People relied on me. Then one day, the company announced a restructuring, which is just a fancy word for layoffs. They gathered us together and said they had to let some of the staff go. A week later, I was one of them. Just like that, I walked out with a box of my stuff and just sat in my car for about 20 minutes, staring at the steering wheel, not knowing what to do. At first, I told myself I'd be fine, that I'd find another job quickly. IT guys are always in demand, I thought. But it didn't happen. At least not the kind of job I was looking for. Every application I sent was either ignored or turned into a rejection email. Sometimes I'd land an interview, think it went well, and then never hear back. Weeks turned into months, and every day I felt more and more useless. I started sleeping in late, sometimes not even getting out of bed until noon. I stopped caring about how I looked. The days just blurred together. Taryn tried to be supportive at first. She'd tell me, "It's okay, we'll get through this." Or she'd encourage me to keep applying. She cooked more, checked in on me during the day, and I appreciated it, but I could tell her patience was starting to wear thin. She'd come home tired from work. She'd see me still in my pajamas on the couch, and the disappointment was written all over her face, even if she didn't say anything. The arguments started to pick up too. Not big fights, but little digs that added up. She'd get on my case about the dishes or the laundry. I'd snap back that I was trying, and we'd both end up in silence. Other nights, she'd come home late, and I'd ask why. She'd say she had to stay at the office to finish a project. I believed her at first, but then it started happening more often. Working late turned into a couple of nights a week. Sometimes she wouldn't get home until 10 or 11 p.m. I wanted to trust her, but that little voice in the back of my head wouldn't shut up. I'll be honest, I started to get paranoid. I'd lie awake at night, next to her, staring at the ceiling and wondering what she was really doing when she wasn't home. She'd kiss me goodnight, but it felt different, like her mind was somewhere else. I tried to brush it off as my own insecurity about my job situation, but the distance between us was obvious. There was one night I'll never forget. She texted me saying she was staying late to work again. She didn't get back until almost midnight. She looked tired, but not the kind of tired that comes from work, if that makes any sense. It was more like she had been somewhere else entirely. She took a shower, got into bed, and barely spoke to me. I stayed on the couch after she fell asleep, just staring at the blank TV screen and thinking, she doesn't even want to be here anymore. Meanwhile, I was falling apart. I felt like dead weight. Taryn was paying all the bills, keeping everything afloat, and I hated myself for it. I tried to make up for it by doing more around the house, but it never seemed to be enough. Every rejection email I got sent me into a deeper spiral. I stopped seeing my friends because I couldn't stand the "how's the job hunt going?" question. I stopped talking to my mom about it, so she wouldn't worry. My world shrank down to that apartment and Taryn, and even she felt more and more distant. The worst part was that I kept telling myself it was all temporary, that if I could just get another job, everything would go back to normal. I didn't realize things had already changed too much. Taryn was changing too, but in small ways. She wasn't as affectionate. She didn't laugh at my jokes. She spent more time on her phone, more time working late, more time avoiding my eyes. I noticed it all, but I didn't say anything because I was scared. I thought if I pushed too hard, I'd drive her away completely. So I kept quiet and let the doubt eat away at me. Looking back, that silence was the biggest mistake I ever made. Because while I was pretending everything was fine, Taryn was leading a double life. But at the time, I had no proof, just this gut feeling. And when you love someone, you want to believe the best. So I kept telling myself it was just paranoia, that things would get better. I didn't know the proof was right in front of me, just waiting for me to stumble upon it. And when I did, there was no going back. It was a random afternoon, around 2 o'clock. Taryn had left for work like usual, and I was at home applying for jobs online, or at least trying to. The truth is, I was spending more time staring at the same listings over and over than actually sending applications. I was at that stage where it all felt pointless. I remember I went to use her laptop because mine was acting up. Hers was faster, newer. She always left it on the desk in our little office/game room. When I opened it, her email was already logged in. I swear, I had no intention of snooping. My first instinct was to open a new tab and log into my own stuff. But then I saw it. A subject line with the name of a guy I recognized, Dominic. Dominic wasn't a stranger. Taryn had mentioned him before. He was one of her coworkers. She had dropped his name a few times in casual conversation. Things like, Dominic told a dumb joke in the meeting, or Dominic helped her with this project. So when I saw his name in her inbox, my brain immediately went, what's this about? I hesitated. I just stared at the screen, debating whether to click. My chest was tight, my palms were sweating. Part of me didn't want to know. I thought, if I don't open it, I can keep pretending everything is okay. But that feeling in my stomach, the one that had been growing for months, pushed me. I clicked, and there it was. The first email was nothing serious, work-related, but as I scrolled down a little further, my stomach dropped. Flirty comments, inside jokes, references to after-work outings that were clearly not team meetings. My hands started to shake as I kept reading. And then I got to the part where there was no room left for doubt. Messages about meeting up after work, about what they had done together. It was all spelled out. Taryn was sleeping with him. I froze, reading and rereading the words, as if staring at them long enough would make them change into something else. But they didn't. It was all there. The late nights out, the excuses, the distance between us, it all made sense in a flash. My first reaction wasn't even anger. It was this empty feeling, like all the air had been sucked out of the room. I thought about all the nights I had stayed up wondering, and now I had the proof I never wanted. I remember muttering, no, 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 over and over, as if repeating it could make it untrue. And then the anger hit me, hard. I wanted to slam the laptop shut, throw it against the wall, scream. I wanted to call her right then and demand answers, but something stopped me. I don't know if it was shock or some kind of twisted clarity, but I understood that screaming at her wouldn't fix anything. She would deny it, she would cry, she would turn it around on me, and I'd end up looking like the bad guy. So I just sat there for a long time, reading the emails, taking screenshots, and saving them to a USB drive. I felt sick doing it, but I knew I needed proof, not for her, but for myself, so I wouldn't doubt myself later. After that, I closed the laptop and just sat in the dark for hours. My mind was racing. I thought about all the nights she said she was working late, the times I cooked dinner and waited at the table alone, the cold goodnight kisses, all of it. I felt stupid, humiliated, betrayed. I remember thinking, why him of all people? Why him? He was older than us, 31 at the time. Married, too, with a kid. Yep, you read that right, married. And she still chose to sleep with him. That detail made my stomach turn even more. Not only was she betraying me, but he was betraying his own family. Two people lying to the ones who trusted them most. And I was just there, realizing I'd been living in a fake relationship for months. That night, Taryn came home as if nothing was wrong. She smiled, kissed me, and asked what I wanted for dinner. I looked at her, and for the first time in 5 years, I didn't see the girl I thought I knew. I saw a stranger, but I didn't say a word. I faked it, nodded, acted tired, and let her think everything was fine. All the while, my head was screaming. The next few days were torture. I desperately wanted to confront her, but I kept telling myself, wait, think, don't blow up yet. Because deep down, I didn't want to fight. I wanted an ending. If I confronted her, she would cry, apologize, maybe beg me to stay. And I knew that if she did it long enough, there was a chance I might give in, and I didn't want to give in. Not after seeing those emails. So instead of yelling at her or kicking her out, I started to plan. I realized something. The lease was in her name. My credit was a mess. Technically, I could just leave. I didn't know that apartment anything, and I definitely didn't know her a face-to-face breakup where she could spin the story. That night, lying next to her as she slept, I made a decision. I wasn't going to confront her. I was going to disappear, but before I left, I was going to make sure she felt a fraction of the pain she'd caused me. Once I had proof of what Taryn was doing with Dominic, I knew two things. I was done with her for good, and I wasn't just going to pack my bags and leave quietly. I was also going to make sure her work found out. She had trampled all over my trust and loyalty. The least I could do was return the favor by shattering the perfect image she had of herself. You see, Taryn had an ego. I don't mean she was arrogant in public, but privately, she thought she was untouchable. She was the organized one, the one with the stable job, the one everyone at the office respected. She liked being in control and knowing she was the one holding our relationship together. Losing her job, being humiliated, being exposed in front of her colleagues, that would be her worst nightmare. So I decided that's where I would hit her. The first step was simple, a clean exit. I called a moving company and scheduled a pickup for noon the following week. I made sure to do it during her work hours so I wouldn't have to deal with her trying to stop me. My stuff was easy to separate. My clothes, my gaming setup, my personal belongings. The rest of it, the furniture, the decor, the kitchen stuff, she could have it. I didn't care. I wanted her to walk into that apartment and see the empty spaces where my things used to be, to feel the shock of realizing I was gone, without any warning. But that was just the beginning. The real revenge was going to happen at her job. Remember how I said I saved the emails? Well, yeah, I had them safe on a USB drive. I opened her inbox again and picked out the best ones, the ones there was no way she could spin. Messages where they explicitly said what they'd done, when they'd done it, and even a few where Dominic joked about sneaking off with her on work nights. From her still logged-in account, I forwarded those threads to the head of HR, CCing myself. No comment, no explanation, I just hit send. The subject lines spoke for themselves. And let me tell you, sending that felt different. It wasn't some movie moment where I jumped for joy. It was a cold, quiet satisfaction. Like thinking, yeah, you messed with the wrong guy. The morning of the move, the movers showed up on time. Two guys in a van, quiet, just doing their job. They didn't ask questions. They just helped pack everything up. I kept it quick. Clothes, gaming setup, personal items gone. As they carried the last box out, I stood for a moment in the living room and looked around. 5 years of my life with her, 2 years in that place. And this was how it ended. Part of me felt sad, but a bigger part felt relieved. When I left, I didn't leave a note, just one text. I wanted Taryn to get home that afternoon and be met with emptiness. No confrontation, no closure, nothing, just silence. Later that day, my phone buzzed. Taryn had texted me something vague. Babe, I don't know what's going on, but I got fired today. They're doing cutbacks. I don't know what I'm going to do. She said it was cutbacks, but a mutual colleague later told me HR had fired them both for violating company policy. I read the message 3 times, smiled, and wrote my one and only reply. I know you cheated on me with Dominic. I moved out this morning. Don't ever talk to me again. Then I blocked her number. I didn't give her the satisfaction of an argument. No back and forth, no begging, no fake apologies, just the cold, hard truth, followed by a wall of silence. And I'm not going to lie, I enjoyed knowing all of it. Not in a I'm a saint kind of way, but in a she deserved it way. She thought she could cheat, lie, and carry on with her perfect life without consequences. Instead, she ended up humiliated. She lost her job, her apartment, her relationship, and her sense of control. Everything she thought made her superior came crashing down, and I didn't have to lift a finger after that first move. Sometimes people ask me if I regret it, if I was too cruel to destroy her career instead of just leaving. Honestly, no. She destroyed my trust, my loyalty, my future with her. She didn't just cheat. She made me feel worthless at the lowest point in my life. So yeah, I hit her where it hurt the most. Her pride, her ego, her image. And I don't regret it for a second. When I think about it now, I don't remember the sadness as much. I remember the calm of that moment walking out of the apartment, knowing that she would finally feel what I had felt for months, helplessness. And that's exactly what I wanted. After I moved out and sent that one text, I thought maybe that would be the end of it, that she'd be angry, send a few messages, and then move on. But no, that was just the beginning. And this is where it got vicious, because the consequences hit her in waves. First wave, she lost her job. The forwarded emails worked exactly as I planned. HR doesn't play games when you're sleeping with a coworker, especially when you're both foolish enough to leave a digital trail. Dominic was fired too. Imagine that conversation at his house, married with a kid and suddenly unemployed because he couldn't keep his personal life out of the office. Second wave, she came home to an apartment half empty. I was gone. My stuff was gone. She couldn't call me because I'd blocked her. So what did she do? She showed up at my mom's house 2 days later, asking where I was. My mom, bless her heart, played dumb. She told her, "I don't know where Logan is. I haven't heard from him." Apparently, Taryn got desperate and started saying things like, "Please, just tell him I'll do anything. I'll fix this. Let me explain." It got to the point where she was on her knees on the porch, begging. That's how low she had sunk. My mom told me later that she looked completely different from the confident, put-together Taryn she'd known for years. She looked like someone who had just realized everything was slipping through her fingers and she couldn't stop it. My mom called me later, laughing a little, but also a bit annoyed, telling me Taryn was on her porch crying, pleading, literally asking for me. My mom stuck to her story and told her she had no idea. Apparently, Taryn was in full-blown meltdown mode, saying things like, "I made a mistake. Can we get past this?" Nope, that door was closed. Third wave, her life started to unravel. Without a job, she couldn't afford the apartment on her own. The rent was too much. She tried to find another job, but the HR world is small and word gets around. From what I heard later, she couldn't find anything decent. The bills piled up. She fell behind on rent. She eventually had to pack up and move back in with her parents. 27 years old, thinking she had it all figured out, and suddenly she was broke, jobless, and living with her parents again. After that, she kept trying to contact me. Dozens of texts and calls that never came through because she was still blocked. She even sent me long emails telling me she made a mistake, that she was lonely because I wasn't the same after I lost my job, that it just happened, with Dominic the usual excuses. I never replied once. The silence was the best revenge. She couldn't argue with me, or beg me, or spin the story. She was just talking into a void. And for someone like Taryn, who always prided herself on being independent and in control, that must have shattered her ego. And that's exactly what I wanted. And Dominic, oh, his life blew up too. Remember, he was 31, married, with a kid. HR didn't just fire Taryn, they fired him too. From what I heard later, his wife found out about everything. I don't know if it was because of the emails or because he confessed, but the point is, she found out, and she did not take it well. Mutual friends told me his wife kicked him out of the house, so he lost his job, his family, and his little office side piece, all at the same time. Honestly, I couldn't have planned a more perfect form of justice. Taryn lost her job, her apartment, her relationship, and her sense of control. Dominic lost his job, his marriage, and probably partial custody of his kid. Two people who thought they could play games behind everyone's backs got destroyed in the same week. The best part was, I didn't have to yell, or fight, or demand an explanation. I just disappeared and let the truth do the rest. No dramatic confrontation, no public blow-up, just silence. And in that silence, their little secret world collapsed. The last I heard of Taryn was through a mutual friend. Sometime later, he told me she was still struggling, bouncing between part-time jobs, unable to hold one down for long, and dealing with depression. She wasn't dating anyone seriously, at least not that anyone knew of. In short, she never really got back on her feet. And yeah, I know it sounds cruel, but when I heard that, I smiled. Not because I wanted to see her destroyed forever, but because I wanted her to feel the same thing I felt when I found those emails. Helplessness. I wanted her to know what it feels like when everything you thought was stable crumbles in your hands. In the end, she brought it all on herself. I just shined a light on the truth. So yeah, that's basically how it all went down. Taryn lost her job. Dominic lost his. Their little office romance blew up in their faces, and I walked away clean, with no shouting, no second chances, no drawn-out breakup where she could manipulate me. Just me deciding I was done and making sure she paid for what she did. This is where people usually ask, do you have any regrets? Don't you think you went too far? And honestly, no, I don't regret it one bit. If anything, I think I handled it more calmly than most guys would have. I didn't throw her stuff out the window. I didn't scream at her in front of the neighbors. I didn't put her on blast on social media. I could have. God knows I was angry enough. But instead, I hit her where it hurt the most. Her pride, her stability, her image. Taryn always presented herself as the responsible one, the one who had her life together. She loved being the one with the good job, the steady paycheck, the adult life. Meanwhile, I was the guy with bad credit, the one leaning on her during a tough time. That power imbalance was always there, even if she didn't say it out loud. I think part of her ego came from feeling superior to me in that regard. So when she cheated, I knew exactly how to destroy that ego, take away her job, her apartment, her independence, and leave her back at square one, living with her parents. That was the kind of humiliation she wasn't built to handle. And you know what? It worked. I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel a huge amount of satisfaction watching her life fall apart. I know some people will judge me for that, but when you get cheated on, especially after 5 years together, you want some kind of justice. You want to feel like it wasn't all for nothing. And for me, that's exactly what I got. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.
Your team? Gonna choke again. We have 17 fucking championships. What are you talking about? We won one in 2008, 16 years ago. There's 30 teams. Like, we're not behind any sort of thing here. I don't know if you've noticed, but like there was some juggernaut pile-on teams that won, like, you know, just the Heat and the fucking Warriors alone. And the Lakers, I mean, those pile-on fucking teams. I mean, that's like 2, 3, 2, 5, I don't know, 7 championships right there. I mean, when Durant went to fucking went to Golden State, that was it. It was fucking over for 2 years. It was just fucking over. No one was winning shit. I don't know. It's a weird league. I still can't quite get into the NBA, but I'm obviously going to pull hard for the Celtics. But I find myself, even when Celtics games are on, clicking over to watch Panthers versus Rangers. But that's normal because everybody in sports, you know, you watch football, maybe you're into baseball, but when it comes to basketball and hockey, you got to make the Sophie's choice there. Anyway, all right, that's the podcast, everybody. Billy fucking, I don't know. I don't even know what kind of day I have. It's not a cheat day. Oh, fucking lonely ginger. All right, that is the podcast. Have a great weekend, you cunts. Enjoy the music that Andrew Themelis picked out, and we will have a bonus episode of the Thursday afternoon just before Friday, Monday morning podcast. Okay.
Hey, what's going on? It's Bill Burr, and it's time for the Monday morning podcast for Monday, May 30th, 2016. How are you? How's it going? How are you? Oh, look at you. What are you doing for Memorial Day? Yeah? Yeah, did you fill up the above-ground pool? Oh, God bless you. God bless you. I'll be over with a couple of Millers. You know what I've been drinking late? Stacy, yeah, over here. You know what I've been drinking lately? I don't know why. I started drinking the Coors Light again. You remember them silver bullets, fucking prom night? How many did you get in your clam? Oh, Jesus Christ. Happy Memorial Day, everybody. Thank you to everybody in the military for doing what it is that you do. So that morons like me can run their fucking yaps and not have a black van pull up and take me away to get re-educated. That's it. Happy day off on a Monday.